That jar of coffee in your cupboard, it's not coffee. Go grab it, flip it over, read the ingredients. Maltodextrin, sugar, vegetable oil, natural flavors. You're not drinking coffee, you're drinking instant powder bulked out with fillers that cost cents per kilo, while you pay $15 a jar. This is what Australian supermarkets call coffee now. Robusta beans, the cheap, bitter ones, mixed with chicory root, added sugar, and whatever else keeps production costs down. Brands your parents trusted quietly switched from quality Arabica to commodity Robusta. They never told anyone. I spent 3 weeks analyzing labels, tracking ownership changes, and researching contamination scandals. What I found made me throw out every jar in my house. 10 brands, 10 lies, and one Australian icon that sold out completely. Stay until the end. Number 1 will hurt. Number 10, Nescafe Blend 43. For over 50 years, Blend 43 meant Australian coffee. Since the 1960s, that iconic brown jar. Your parents drank it, your grandparents probably drank it. Blend 43 was the instant coffee that tasted like home. That was before Nestle moved production offshore and changed everything. The Australian factory in Gympie that roasted and blended Blend 43 for decades scaled back dramatically. Most of the coffee you're drinking now is imported freeze-dried powder made in factories across Asia and Europe. Original Blend 43 was primarily Arabica beans. Arabica is premium coffee, smoother, more complex, lower caffeine, more expensive. Modern Blend 43 has significantly increased Robusta content. Robusta is cheap coffee, grows faster, higher yield, also tastes harsher, more bitter, more acidic. But the Robusta switch is just the beginning. Blend 43 contains chicory, listed right there in the ingredients. Chicory root is roasted and ground to create coffee-like flavor. It's a filler, cheaper than actual coffee, used to bulk out the product while reducing real coffee content. Open your jar of Blend 43 right now. Smell it. Does it smell like rich roasted coffee, or does it smell faintly burnt with underlying musty sweetness? That's the chicory and Robusta. Make a cup, black, no sugar. It's bitter, aggressively bitter. There's an acidity that catches in your throat. That's low-quality Robusta beans, over-roasted to compensate, then bulked out with chicory. $15 for 150 grams of instant. That's $100 per kilo for freeze-dried Robusta powder mixed with chicory root. Actual whole bean Arabica costs less at specialty roasters. For busy parents relying on morning Blend 43, thinking you're getting the same quality coffee your parents drank, you're funding Nestle's offshore production of Robusta and chicory blends while they trade on Australian nostalgia. Brown jar nostalgia. Now imported Robusta and chicory, Nestle offshore production. Number 9, International Roast. Budget instant coffee. $3 for 100 grams at Woolies. Cheapest option on the shelf. Seems like decent value for families watching every dollar. Read the ingredients. Coffee, sugar, maltodextrin. Stop right there. Sugar and maltodextrin. In coffee. Buried in the fine print where you won't notice unless you're specifically looking. Maltodextrin is processed carbohydrate derived from corn or wheat. It's used as filler, keeps powder from clumping, also adds bulk so manufacturers can use less actual coffee while filling the same size jar. The sugar masks how bad the coffee tastes. International Roast uses bottom-tier Robusta beans, the cheapest commodity coffee available. Make a cup, taste it black. It's aggressively bitter with a chemical aftertaste. There's almost no coffee complexity, just bitter, slightly sweet, one-dimensional flavor. The caffeine hit is strong, that's the Robusta, nearly twice the caffeine of Arabica. You feel wired for an hour, then exhausted. Then you need another cup. $3 sounds cheap, but you're using more per cup because the flavor is weak and you need the caffeine boost. A jar lasts half as long, the savings evaporate. For office workers drinking multiple cups of International Roast daily, thinking you're being budget conscious, you're consuming added sugar and maltodextrin with bottom-tier Robusta that spikes your caffeine levels and crashes you harder. Budget $3 pricing contains added sugar and maltodextrin, bottom-tier Robusta beans. Number 8. Lavazza Qualità Rossa. Premium Italian coffee. Red packaging. European Prestige, $8 to $10 for 250 grams. Everything suggests quality coffee for serious drinkers. Here's what nobody tells you. In 2019, European consumer testing found pesticide residues in Lavazza coffee. Multiple pesticides, levels that exceeded safety thresholds in several European countries. Glyphosate, chlorpyrifos, chemicals used in industrial coffee farming that end up in your cup. Lavazza's response? They said all products meet regulatory standards and are safe. Technically true, the pesticide levels were below maximum allowable limits, but below maximum allowable doesn't mean zero. Australia has even more relaxed pesticide standards than Europe. Coffee that barely passes European testing sails through Australian customs, but the pesticides are just part of the problem. Lavazza Qualità Rossa isn't 100% Arabica like the Italian branding implies. It's a blend. Industry insiders estimate 30 to 40% Robusta content. The roasting is aggressive, very dark. That's not Italian tradition, that's cost management. Over-roasting masks defects in cheap beans. Brew it. Taste it black. It's intensely bitter with almost no sweetness or complexity. The body is thin despite the dark roast. There's harsh acidity that catches in your throat. That's cheap Robusta beans roasted until they're nearly burnt to hide how bad they taste. For coffee snobs buying Lavazza thinking Italian branding means premium quality, you're consuming pesticide residues in a blend that's 30 to 40% cheap Robusta, over-roasted to mask poor bean quality. Italian red packaging prestige. Pesticide residues detected. Blend contains cheap Robusta. Number 7. Moccona Classic Medium Roast. Freeze-dried for flavour. Premium Australian instant coffee. Moccona has been in Australian cupboards since the 1960s, positioned as the upgrade from Blend 43. The brand is owned by JDE Peet's, Dutch multinational. When multinationals buy heritage brands, they cut costs. They source cheaper beans. They change roasting profiles. Moccona Classic used to be primarily Arabica. Now, significant Robusta content. The label still doesn't specify ratios, just coffee. But here's the health concern: acrylamide. It's a chemical compound that forms when coffee is roasted at high temperatures. Instant coffee, particularly freeze-dried, can have acrylamide levels 2 to 3 times higher than regular brewed coffee. Acrylamide is classified as a probable human carcinogen. Moccona's freeze-drying process requires intense heat. That heat creates acrylamide. You're getting concentrated acrylamide with every cup because the coffee has been processed at extreme temperatures to create that premium instant powder. Make a cup, black, no milk. It tastes acceptable, better than international roast. But there's a flatness to the flavor, no complexity, just coffee-flavored bitterness with a slight chemical aftertaste that lingers on your tongue. That chemical taste is the freeze-drying process and acrylamide formation. For health-conscious adults, buying Moccona thinking freeze-dried means premium quality. You're consuming higher acrylamide levels from high-heat processing, drinking a blend switched to cheaper Robusta beans. Freeze-dried premium positioning, higher acrylamide from high-heat processing, now Dutch-owned. If this is opening your eyes, hit subscribe. We're exposing every aisle. Number 6. Starbucks Via Instant. American coffee giant, premium instant coffee, single-serve packets, $5 to $6 for 8 sachets. That's 75 cents per cup for instant coffee. Nearly the same price as actual brewed coffee from a cafe. Here's the scam: Starbucks. Via isn't freeze-dried, it's micro-ground. They take roasted coffee beans and grind them into powder so fine it dissolves in hot water. Sounds clever. In practice, it's gritty and unpleasant. Make a cup. Stir it well. Now drink it. Feel that texture? That slight grittiness on your tongue? That's undissolved coffee particles. Microground doesn't fully dissolve like freeze-dried. You're drinking coffee sludge. The flavor is harsh. Starbucks over-roasts everything. That works for brewed coffee. For instance, you're getting all that burnt intensity hitting your palate at once with no filtration. But here's what makes Via particularly offensive: the packaging waste. Each sachet is individually wrapped in foil-lined plastic. 8 pieces of non-recyclable waste for 8 cups of coffee. That foil plastic laminate doesn't break down. It sits in landfill for centuries. The ingredients include natural flavors. Why does instant coffee need added flavors? Because micro-grinding destroys delicate flavor compounds. The coffee tastes flat. They add natural flavors to create artificial complexity. Via costs $9.38 per 100 grams. Genuinely premium whole bean coffee costs less. You're paying cafe prices for instant quality with gritty texture and environmentally destructive packaging. For busy office workers buying Starbucks via thinking you're getting cafe quality, you're drinking gritty micro-ground coffee with added flavors wrapped in environmentally destructive packaging while paying cafe prices for instant quality. Premium cafe branding. Micro-ground creates gritty texture. Excessive single-use packaging waste. Number 5. Robert Tim's Italian Espresso. Australian coffee brand since the 1960s. Italian espresso styling, $8 to $10 for 200 grams. Seems reasonable for quality Australian coffee. The brand is now owned by Vittoria Coffee, which is owned by Massimo Zanetti Beverage Group, Italian multinational. Robert Tim's isn't Australian anymore except in name. When Vittoria bought Robert Tim's, they changed the blend. The original used premium beans from specific origins. The new blend uses whatever's cheapest on commodity markets. The Italian espresso is pure marketing. Nothing Italian about this coffee except styling. It's not roasted in Italy. The beans aren't from Italy. Italy doesn't grow coffee. The Italian connection is completely manufactured. Open your bag. It's pre-ground. That's the first problem. Coffee starts going stale the moment it's ground. Pre-ground coffee loses 60% of its aromatics within 2 weeks. Robert Tim's sits on shelves for weeks before you buy it. Then it sits in your cupboard for weeks more. Smell it. Does it smell bright and aromatic? Or does it smell flat and slightly musty? That's stale pre-ground coffee. Brew it. The flavor is one-dimensional. Bitter. There's almost no complexity. That's stale coffee and poor quality beans masked by dark roasting. $10 for 200 grams of pre-ground coffee that's been stale since before you bought it. Whole bean coffee costs the same and stays fresh for weeks. For home baristas buying Robert Tim's thinking Italian branding means quality espresso, you're drinking stale pre-ground coffee that's been losing flavor since packaging day, made from commodity beans that change based on market prices. Australian brand since the 1960s, now Italian multinational owned, pre-ground goes stale immediately. Number 4. Grinders coffee sachets. Queensland brand, Australian owned and operated. Single-serve sachets for convenient coffee anywhere, supporting Aussie business against multinational giants. Let's talk about those sachets. Single-use plastic and foil. Each one. Every cup of coffee creates one piece of non-recyclable waste. Grinders sells millions of these sachets annually. That's millions of pieces of plastic going straight to landfill where they'll sit for centuries. Open a Grinders cappuccino sachet. Read the ingredients. Coffee, sugar, milk solids, vegetable oil, glucose syrup, emulsifiers 471340, flavors, anti-caking agent 551. Vegetable oil, glucose syrup, emulsifiers in coffee. This isn't coffee. This is coffee-flavored powder with more sugar, oil, and emulsifiers than actual coffee. The coffee inside is pre-ground, already stale before packaging. Then it sits in the sachet for months. By the time you drink it, the coffee is completely dead. Make a Grinders cappuccino. Taste it honestly. It's intensely sweet with fake creamy texture. The coffee flavor is faint and chemical. That's the vegetable oil and emulsifiers creating artificial creaminess. $6 for 10 sachets, 60 cents per cup. For stale pre-ground coffee in non-recyclable plastic waste with added vegetable oils and emulsifiers. Actual coffee from a plunger costs 20 cents per cup and creates zero waste. For busy Australians buying Grinders thinking you're supporting local business, you're creating millions of pieces of permanent plastic waste while drinking stale pre-ground coffee mixed with vegetable oils and emulsifiers. Australian-owned Battler branding, single-use plastic environmental disaster, added vegetable oils and emulsifiers. Number 3. Jara hot chocolate coffee mix, marketed as coffee alternative for the whole family. Jara coffee sounds like coffee for people who don't drink regular coffee. Sweet, mild. Parents buy it thinking it's harmless introduction to coffee culture for older kids. Read the ingredients: sugar, milk solids, glucose syrup, vegetable fat, cocoa powder, coffee 3%, emulsifiers 322, 471, flavors, salt. Coffee is 5th on the list. After sugar, milk solids, glucose syrup, and vegetable fat. 3% coffee, 97% is sugar, milk powder, and oil. Each 20-gram sachet contains 0.6 grams of actual coffee. That's barely a pinch. The rest is sugar, roughly 60% of the product. You're giving your kids 12 grams of sugar per cup, calling it coffee. That's nearly 3 teaspoons per serve. Make a cup, taste it. It's intensely sweet with faint coffee hint. The texture is creamy but artificial. That's vegetable fat and emulsifiers creating fake creaminess. The coffee component is there for legitimacy, so they can call it coffee. So parents think they're giving kids coffee instead of hot chocolate with sugar. $4 for 10 sachets. 40 cents per cup for sugar water with a hint of coffee flavor. For parents buying Jara thinking you're introducing teenagers to coffee culture, you're feeding them 12 grams of sugar per cup with vegetable fats and emulsifiers wrapped in coffee flavoring, creating sugar dependency. Family-friendly coffee marketing, barely 3% actual coffee, 60% sugar content. Drop a comment. Which of these brands is in your cupboard right now? Number 2. Aldi Lazio Coffee. Budget discount coffee, $2 for 200 grams. Cheapest ground coffee available anywhere in Australia. Seems too good to be true. It is. Read the label. Packaged in Australia from imported ingredients. That's Aldi speak for, we have no idea where these beans came from and we're not telling you. The origin is completely opaque. Could be Brazilian robusta, could be Vietnamese robusta, could be a blend of whatever was cheapest. You'll never know because Aldi doesn't disclose origin. Coffee traceability matters. Ethical sourcing matters. Aldi's coffee comes from mystery origins through opaque supply chains with zero accountability. The beans could be from farms using child labor, could be from environmentally destructive plantations. You have no way to know. Choice magazine taste-tested Lazio multiple times. It consistently scores bottom of the category, described as harsh, bitter, flat, and lacking complexity. Professional tasters identify it as low-quality robusta with aggressive roasting to mask defects. Open your bag, smell it. It smells burnt and one-dimensional. No complexity, just carbon and bitterness. That's over-roasted commodity coffee covering its own deficiencies. The beans look oily. Excessive oil means beans were roasted too dark or are going stale. Brew it black. It tastes harsh and aggressively bitter with almost no sweetness. There's a chemical aftertaste. That's poor quality beans roasted until they're nearly burnt. $2 for 200 grams. $10 per kilo. That seems cheap until you realize you're using twice as much per cup because the flavor is weak. The savings evaporate. For budget-conscious families buying Lazio, thinking you're getting European quality at discount prices, you're drinking mystery origin coffee with zero ethical traceability that tastes harsh and bitter because it's been over-roasted to hide how bad the beans are. Budget $2 pricing, mystery origin with zero traceability, consistently fails taste tests. Number 1, Vittoria. Your grandparents drank this. Your parents drank this. Every cafe you've ever been to has this behind the counter. That red and gold package. That since 1958 stamp. Vittoria isn't just a coffee brand, it's woven into Australian identity. And in 2019, the Cantarella family sold it all. 60 years of family ownership gone. Massimo Zanetti Beverage Group, Italian multinational, one of the largest coffee corporations on earth, now owns everything you thought was Australian. They kept the name, they kept the red and gold, they kept the heritage messaging, everything designed to make you think nothing changed. Everything changed. The blend shifted immediately. Original Vittoria used premium Arabica from specific origins. The new ownership sources commodity beans, whatever's cheapest on global markets that week. The roasting went darker, more aggressive. That darkness masks cheaper beans, creates consistency across massive volumes, destroys the complexity that made Vittoria worth drinking. But here's the specific lie that should make you furious. Vittoria still markets itself as fresh roasted. Go grab your bag right now, find the roast date. You won't, because there isn't one. Vittoria doesn't date their bags. That's not an oversight, that's strategy. Without roast dates, they can sell you coffee that's been sitting in warehouses for months while the packaging whispers fresh. Coffee peaks 7 to 14 days after roasting. By 6 weeks, it's noticeably stale. By 3 months, it's dead. Every specialty roaster in Australia prints roast dates on every bag. They're proud of freshness. Vittoria hides it because they're not proud. They're hoping you don't notice. Brew a cup right now. Black, no sugar. Taste it honestly. It's acceptable, familiar, consistent. But is it exceptional? Is there complexity? Do layers of flavor develop as it cools? No, it's one-dimensional, bittersweet with a faint chocolate note. That's it. That's all you get. You've been drinking stale commodity coffee for so long, you think that's what coffee tastes like. Now compare it to genuinely fresh beans from a specialty roaster. The difference is staggering. Fresh coffee is alive, bright, complex. Vittoria tastes flat and dead beside it. Massimo Zanetti paid for 60 years of your family's trust. They're trading on 3 generations of Australian loyalty while delivering cheaper beans, darker roasting, and undated bags of stale coffee at premium prices. Australian icon since 1958. Sold to Italian multinational 2019. Undated bags hide staleness. The family sold 5 years ago, and Massimo Zanetti is betting you'll never notice. So what should you actually drink? Number 3, Single O, Sydney. Open a bag of Single O. Right now if you have one, smell it. This is what coffee is supposed to smell like. Bright, complex, alive. Fruit notes, chocolate, actual aroma that fills the room. Not flat, musty staleness. Check the roast date. It's right there, front of the bag. Not hidden. Not missing, printed because they're proud of it. Single O maintains direct trade relationships with farmers. They know which farm your beans came from. They know who grew them. They know what they were paid. The seasonal offerings rotate based on harvest cycles, which means you're drinking coffee at peak freshness, not whatever's been sitting in a warehouse. $12 to $18 for 250 grams. Sounds expensive next to Vittoria, but you're paying for coffee that was roasted within the last 2 weeks. Coffee with actual flavor. Coffee you can drink black and enjoy. Make a cup. Taste it beside your supermarket brand. The supermarket coffee will taste like cardboard. You won't go back. Available at their Sydney cafes and online nationally. Number 2. Market Lane, Melbourne. Market Lane prints the actual roast date on every bag, not month and year, the day. Their single origins change throughout the year based on what's at peak harvest. That sounds like marketing. It's not. It means someone is actively curating what you drink based on quality, not based on what's cheapest or what's sitting in inventory. $15 to $20 for 250 grams. Premium pricing. Worth it. Open a bag. The beans look different from supermarket coffee, more varied in color, less oily. That's because they're not over-roasted to hide defects. They're roasted to express origin character. Brew it. The flavor is vibrant. There are layers, fruit, chocolate, caramel, that develop and change as the cup cools. This is what coffee is supposed to do. Supermarket coffee just gets more bitter as it cools. Good coffee opens up. The supply chain is transparent. They can tell you which farm, which region, which producer. The ethical sourcing is genuine. Not a logo on the bag, but actual relationships with actual farmers. Available at Melbourne cafes and shipping nationwide. Number 1. Local roasters plus grind your own. Here's the truth nobody in the coffee industry wants you to understand. The best coffee costs the same as Vittoria. Find a specialty roaster in your city. Melbourne has hundreds. Sydney has dozens. Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, every major city has independent roasters making genuinely excellent coffee. Even regional towns have farmers market roasters now. Buy whole beans. Check the roast date. Should be within the last 2 weeks. Take them home. Grind them fresh right before you brew. A decent burr grinder costs $50 to $100. It pays for itself within months because you stop wasting money on stale supermarket coffee that tastes like nothing. The cost? $12 to $20 for 250 grams. Same as Lavazza, same as Vittoria. But the quality is incomparably better. You're drinking coffee that was roasted days ago, from known origins, with ethical sourcing, zero corporate ownership, no offshore profits, no multinational betting. You won't notice the difference. Just real coffee from real roasters who actually care about their craft. Try it for 1 week, just 1 week. Then go back to your supermarket brand and taste what you've been settling for. You won't go back.